From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Our top story this evening, a Fairbanks man who pleaded guilty to the murder of his estranged girlfriend has been sentenced to serve 70 years in prison. 35-year-old Nairobi Chandler was sentenced to 65 years in the murder of 31-year-old Kaylin Bishop.
He pled guilty to a single count of second-degree murder and consolidated counts of tampering with physical evidence. Now he will serve 5 years on the latter count as part of the plea agreement. News Center 11's Nikki Carvajal has more.
It was here in front of a packed courtroom in Fairbanks Superior Court that the judge handed down a harsh sentence for Nairobi Chandler, just shy of what the prosecution had asked for.
The remorse that's been stated here in court is simply an attempt for mitigating a sentence. Mr. Chandler's desire appears to be to have the least amount of time in prison. Consequently, the representations of remorse and sadness.
Judge Blankenship wasn't buying the mitigating factors presented by the defense, including the argument that Chandler committed the crime under a diminished mental state.
By attempting to hide the corpse, he denied his involvement to investigator. He used her cell phone to try and set up a defense for the murder charge. Text messages and conversations were meant to lead law enforcement in a different direction and hide his perpetration of the murder.
When the News Center asked friends of Bishop what they thought of that, they say they didn't believe it either.
I think that he knew exactly what he was doing. I don't think that he had any doubt in his mind of what he was doing when the whole incident was taking place. He took her in a violent way.
When delivering his sentence, the judge also addressed the family of Kaylin.
There's really not much folks can say when a daughter and a loved one's been taken from you. Of course, condolences to the family, and hopefully this will result in some closure for you.
Nikki Carvajal, News Center 11.
A North Pole man has been arraigned in Fairbanks Superior Court after a standoff with state troopers and the North Pole Police Department. 28-year-old Ryan J. Sparks is charged with multiple counts of assault and weapons misconduct after state troopers were called to his home last month. According to court documents, when officers knocked on his door, Sparks chambered a round in his gun. As officers retreated, Sparks left the residence and began to fire on them. State troopers set up a perimeter, and after firing multiple rounds, Sparks surrendered and was arrested without incident. The trial in the case is scheduled to begin in January.
Several organizations in support of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender equality held an open forum inside the Wood Center last evening. News Center 11's Justice Soleil has that report.
Members of the LGBT community came together Monday evening to discuss topics involving House Bill 139. Sponsors of the bill talked about where the legislation currently stands and what its purpose is.
To end discrimination based on sexual identity or gender for housing and credit reports and employment. And we had one hearing last session, and my hope is that we'll get another hearing and maybe move this legislation so that, as Alaskans, we can all be equal.
The likelihood of getting this legislation passed would require more community support.
This bill is one of the ways that we as a state can move forward and advance equality for everyone. If people get out there and contact their senator, contact their member of the House and say this is important, then the odds are better that it will pass.
Officials with the Gay Sexuality Alliance explained how the discrimination that still exists today is slowly coming to an end as the LGBT community awareness is more heard.
Hearing people tell their stories is a way of changing people's attitudes, especially if they don't have the same attitude or the same filter in life as you do. And so when you hear about people's experiences and how they go through life, you just start to understand, oh, people are they got more in common than they have different. And so having that commonality or that connection to each other just kind of makes people more human. And as we start to understand that in a better way, that there really is no good reason for discrimination at that point. You just kind of accept and appreciate people's differences, and I think that's a really great way to be.
Justice Soleil, News Center 11.
Carol, we are now seeing significant snowfall.
Yes, we are.
I wonder what that's going to mean.
I don't know. Mike will be here later.
later.
Yeah, he was kind of on the ball last night with this forecast. So
Definitely. All right. Well, when we come back, the Fox water well is operating again.
Also trying to figure out the sleep habits of teens. Those stories are next. Stay with us.
And welcome back to the Fbx Evening News. Officials with the state of Alaska have begun a program that will digitize public records. Pre-statehood family history and public records will be digitized in the 4-year program. Alaska State Archives, including births, marriage applications, divorce, and other records, will be included in the digitization. The work is being done through Family Search, a Salt Lake City service. Family Search has more than 6 billion names in its databases. No state funds were used to launch the project.
After being shut down for close to a month, a popular well north of Fairbanks near Fox finally was opened back up to the public this morning. The well was originally drilled in 1980 and up until October had been functioning without any problems. But the well, which provides water to many people living in the area without running water, ran dry. The Alaska State Department of Transportation was forced to close it after a period of investigation and a number of procedures. The problem was fixed and the well is once again open to the public.
So over the past week or so, crews have been working to redevelop the Fox well. This means that they've been forcing pressurized air down in around the pump, and so they've been able to clear away debris from around the pump and the well, and they've been able to suck water back up into the pump and reestablish the flow.
There's more and more research that high school schedules work against the natural biology of teens. In the second part of our series, Superintendent Pete Lewis shares his views.
Yesterday we shared that waking up before 8 a.m. can interrupt the natural sleep cycle for teens. So why do high schools start first?
Since the early 1900s, high school has traditionally started first, and so I think that's been a long-standing tradition across our country. So the implications, if we were to start at a later time, I think there are a number of factors that we would have to consider.
But for some, figuring out those details may be worth the effort. Researchers at the University of Minnesota are seeing big improvements in schools that shifted from a 7:25 start time to an 8:30 start time.
I have to say I was skeptical at first. I've been a school administrator for almost 20 years before I became a researcher, and I was totally surprised by the feedback that I was getting from the students, the teachers, the parents, the school counselors. To a person, everybody was saying, this has totally changed the school.
They saw huge jumps in graduation rates and more engaged students. But don't expect these types of changes here locally anytime soon. Superintendent Lewis says interior students are already outperforming students in the state and the nation, and the dropout rate in the borough is at 4.4%, lower than it has been in the past 2 decades.
It's a very difficult process. To go through something like that. I know it has been considered, just as there's been conversations around, 4-day week and all of those things. There's lots of different ways to look at this and trying to come up with the best way to meet students' needs.
Tyson Paris Hansen, News Center 11.
And speaking of sleep, daylight savings time ended this past weekend, which means we set our clocks back 1 hour and got an extra blissful hour of sleep. Sadly, the benefit doesn't last long. News Center 11's Monty Bowen has details now in this week's Health Report.
We are a nation of tired people. The Centers for Disease Control even refer to insufficient sleep as a public health epidemic. Sunday, a gift, an extra hour of sleep, thanks to the end of daylight savings time. Sleep experts say the benefit of that extra hour only lasts a day or two.
Typically 1 or 2 days of catch-up is not enough to really replenish the sleep loss during the week.
Light is the biggest deterrent to sleep, and they recommend making the bedroom as dark as possible. They say exercise in late afternoon or early evening may be most effective for sleep. Cut the caffeine at least 4 hours before bedtime, and stick to the same bed and wake-up time every day. Monty Bowen, News Center 11.
The Health Report is brought to you by the Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic, located in the Medical Dental Arts Building. Call 456-7768.
I don't know about you guys, but I have kids, so fall behind just does not help me at all.
Nope.
Works for me. Yeah.
So, Joe, what do you got going on in sports today?
Well, coming up, we have our Nana Corner, and we catch up with the men's basketball team who will hit the court on Friday night. And also, we recap some high school scores as seasons come to an end, all that and more, including big news from a local swim team. That's coming up next. Hello, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook back in the Sportsy for you this evening. Let's get your Tuesday sports started with the Nana Corner. This week's segment is on the men's basketball team. This Friday, the men's team finally get their first game action. But first, let's see what can be different for the team this year. The Alaska men's basketball team won't surprise anyone this year. Last year, they finished 4th in the GNAC with 10 conference wins, 8 more than 2011. They were picked 5th in the preseason polls. Head coach Mick Durham is coming off a Coach of the Year campaign, and he believes this team can build off of last year.
I think we can be very good defensively, and I'm hoping to start out that way. Last year we had to kind of build that up, and so we're hoping to start at a certain level and build from there. Same thing offensively, be a little more unselfish. And, we've been together for a year and just so kind of start at a certain level and build from there, and not definitely from square one where we were last year.
Senior center Sergei Putsar was preseason All-GNAC, but he feels that's just talk.
It's nice to have recognition. It's always nice when people talk about you, but basically pretty much doesn't mean anything because it's just off season, just the opinion. We got proven in the season.
There are 7 returners like senior Ronnie Baker and senior Stefan Tita, and 6 new players like Rashad Allen and Joe Slocum transfers, and 6 seniors on the team, most ever for Coach Durham, and it's helped freshmen like Damon Sakanik transition smoothly.
Coach Durham's style is kind of similar to my high school coach's style, so it's been a pretty easy transition, but I'm still picking up. But luckily I have a group of older guys that know what they're doing, so they give me good advice.
It's been easy to help those guys kind of fit into the program a little bit because we have so many guys on the court right now that kind of know what's going on with drills, plays, stuff like that. So really we have 7, 8 coaches out there. So it's been kind of a fun process and helping everyone get to where we need to be. We're not there yet, but that's why we're in here.
The Nanas get their first action of the year with a pair of exhibition games against Northwest Indian College at the Patty Center Friday at 7:30 and Saturday at 7 o'clock.
Nana Corner, brought to you by Sports Medicine Fairbanks.
Even though the Nanac swim team couldn't get the upset in their dual meet against Division I Loyola Marymount over the weekend, the Nanac freshman class has been more than productive. Today, freshman Victoria Adams was named Era Alaska Nanac of the Week. Over the weekend, Adams broke 3 Patty Center pool records, breaking records in the 200 backstroke, the 200 IM, a record she posted earlier this season, and was a part of the 200 medley relay record-breaking team. She won 3 events and 2 relays. She's in the top 10 in 5 events in the country, 4th in the 200 back. Fellow freshman Catherine Pound won the 200 free relay, 500 and 1,000 freestyle events as well on Friday against the Lions. Saturday, the Nanac women's basketball team took the court for the first time in an exhibition against the alumni. The Nanac won handily, 95-45. 4 players scored in double figures, including freshman forward Kaylee Skijol with 12 points and 11 rebounds, a double-double for her. Sophomore Rihanna Kirk and senior forward Samantha Thornton led the Nooks in scoring with 13 points apiece. Benisa Belaya added 10. This Friday will be the first game of the season when UAF takes on the Western New Mexico Mustangs at 5:15 in the House of Patty. And some of our interior football seniors played one last game over the weekend, the Alaska Shriners North-South Football Classic in the small medium schools game. Scooter Bynum made some more big plays like we see him do all year. He had an 88-yard kick return for a touchdown and an 89-yard touchdown catch, helping the North win 40-30. North Pole's Ben Davis was named Defensive Player of the game. Patriots head coach Richard Hennert got a win in his first All-Star game as well. In the large schools game, North won 55-23 behind the running of Eagle River's Ed Hall, who had 257 rush yards and 5 touchdowns. What a performance there. And lastly, over the weekend, interior volleyball teams had a chance to build momentum for this week's conference tournaments. West Valley won the MAC regular season title and rallied for a 4-set win over Lathrop on Saturday morning. They will be the number 1 seed this weekend. The Valdez Buccaneers swept the Allison Ravens in the regular season finale, and the Monroe Rams faced the defending 3A champions, the Mount Edgecombe Braves. The Braves won in 3 sets. The Rams will be the number 1 seed, however, in the Aurora Conference tournament this week as well. And the Hutchinson Hawks placed second in the Barrel Whaler Invitational, beating Dillingham in 5 sets. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Thanks for rocking with me for a little while. For more KTF sports, just go to Twitter, YouTube, and Webster11.com. Stay cool, Alaska. Snow is out there. Mike Schultz has your full weather forecast coming up next, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into the Fbx Evening News. Mike Schultz with you once again, taking a look at the weather. A little light snow today. In fact, the airport only reported close to 1 inch of snow, and we're still more than a foot of snow behind what we normally should be this time of year. And we're not looking at much more snow falling before it gets cooler temperatures, colder temperatures. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Nice photograph sent in by Jeff Cook, who's up in the early hours and captured the sunrise on Harding Lake. Again, beautiful colors there. And if you have a photograph to share, by all means, send it to Mike Schultz at ktvf11.com. Our normal high, 16 degrees. Normal low, 0 to high. Today's high was only 24 degrees. And the record high, 39 in 1935, 41 below in 1907. Sunrise and sunset, 7 hours and 14 minutes of daylight, a loss of 6.5 minutes from yesterday. Our satellite picture showing the moisture moving in a band all the way across the Fairbanks area and just about out of the picture. And here comes the cold air represented by the clear skies. We're going to keep an eye on that. Elsewhere across the state, it looks like this. We're looking at cloudy skies over southeast Alaska and the clear skies for the most part. This is our evening shot there. 22 degrees at Nome, 29 at Bethel, 18 degrees at Barrow, and 18 also at Fort Yukon. Lower 48 weather tonight. Well, things are starting to get a little more interesting over the western half of the states. We'll show you that in just a little bit. A little snow and rain falling across the Minneapolis area, rain down around Dallas on our satellite and radar. Again, the pink indicating where there's frozen precipitation falling, and you can see a pretty wide swath just south of Minneapolis, otherwise rain. Our next storm system moving in across the Pacific Northwest. That promises to bring quite a bit of weather with it, all because the jet stream will be pulling down that cold air from Canada, helping to generate a winter storm over the northern Rockies, while down to the south things look pretty good. And over the northeast, cool and brisk for the most part. Back to Alaska for tomorrow in the northern sections, cloudy skies at Barrow, clouds and wind in the Nome area. In fact, winds could be gusting as high as 55 miles an hour by tomorrow night. Some snow expected for Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, clouds will clear out rapidly, becoming much colder by afternoon for Healy, Delta, and Fairbanks. While over southeast Alaska, we're looking at showers for Juneau, maybe showers or thunderstorms possible for Ketchikan. While over the southwest part of the state, winds increasing at Cold Bay, showers in Bethel, and partly cloudy skies for Kodiak. And over the south central sections around the Anchorage Bowl, lots of sunshine scattered across the entire region, and temperatures in the low to mid-upper 30s over the Homer area. Well, back once again for our kids' weather, and this week we're talking with the kids from Ann Ween Elementary School. Tonight, here's a young lady talking about snow.
Hi, my name's Mateo, and I'm in 5th grade class at Ann Ween Elementary, and I drew this picture because me and my family like to play in the snow, and I hope it snows really soon.
And tomorrow night, a young man will be here with a question about, well, let's wait and see. An interesting weather question. Snow diminishing tonight with a little accumulation, 7 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast, 13 degrees, cloudy early and then clearing and turning colder. And we'll tell you how cold it's going to be just a little bit, but you can see by Thursday, 14 degrees for the high, and temperatures are rising a little bit by the end of the weekend, with again a chance of some snow off and on during the 5-day period there. Also, temperatures once again cooling down, but not as much as they're going to cool down tomorrow night. Here is what we have for you. Temperatures will begin to fall tomorrow afternoon and will plummet down to near 10 below by tomorrow night, and colder in the low-lying areas. Remember to protect your car and your pets. A lot of folks don't remember to keep those pets, bring them inside, because it can be very cold for them too.
Here's the question though. When are we going to have the accumulation to go skiing and snowboarding and all of that fun?
Not for a while. We may get some more snow this weekend, but nothing really strong. No big storms to give us that heavy amount right now on site. We're still a foot behind what we normally should be this time of year.
I'm ready to bust out my skis. Joe, are you going to go skiing with me this year?
I might. I mean, I'll try it. Snowboarding or something. I'm down.
Let's try it. We'll do a
I've
segment
been here,
on
a
that.
year now, so yeah, it's about time.
We'll be out there with the cameras.
We will. We will. Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Maybe not for that one.
All right, thanks, guys. That will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, the gunman and the big scare in a New Jersey mall, raising questions about mall security this holiday shopping season. That's coming up next with Brian Williams.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
If you want a good chuckle, go to our Facebook and see Stephanie.
No,
it's really interesting. It's a lot of fun. That will do it from all of us here at the News Center.
Thanks,
Have
Kim.
a good night, and we'll see you again at 11.